Are you a lifelong fan of General Hospital?
Are you a new fan who wants to know more about the history of the show?
Do you enjoy talking about the show with others?
Do you find yourself yelling at the TV?
Is your self-care an hour a day in Port Charles?
If so, we invite you to join hosts
Amanda Kimmel
and Shannon Coach at the place where all the hidden conversations take place and secrets are revealed.
Meet us at Pier 54,
a General Hospital fan podcast. Hello!
Hi!
Welcome to the Port Charles 411, the one that we have been putting off forever. We are finally getting started on our, as best we can, full recap of the character Bobbie Spencer. It was really difficult doing the research even leading up to this. Couldn't really find a lot, not even a lot of early videos. I was trying to find like her first scene and I couldn't find it.
So I could not find videos, and I read the articles. The good thing about doing it right now is there's 100,000 articles out there by 100,000 different people. They also all say basically the same thing, which is good information if you just want like a slight overview. But I wanted a little more information because I love Bobbie, and I don't remember whenever she first started because she was there before we were born. I love being able to say that about characters.
I know,
it's really great. Sad as we get older and we have to be like, oh, I was 15 when they started, blah, blah, blah. No, I like this.
And now they're parents.
On before we were born.
Yes.
Because we're just so young. So I went to the General Hospital Complete Scrapbook, which we have referenced many times before. And I like the scrapbook. We've talked about it before that as you get more into like the time that we remember, the 90s, it didn't give enough detail for us. I think that's because we love our storyline and we didn't like that it like talked about the other stuff.
Right.
But when you're back in the early 80s or 70s, 80s, it gives good detail. So if you read something on top of what I'm reading, I'm sure it is accurate. The book didn't mention it, and I just liked this because it gave more like, and then they said blah, 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 and little clippets.
Right.
Because I like hearing, like the clips that we watched.
Well, because even our Curly Q girl doesn't, well, I mean, she started in 1978, so there's a lot from there, but yeah.
Right. So I'm reading from the book. I may let Shannon have a turn, but I don't know because I'm like really excited to read all this.
I really did not do very much.
And but we'll be reversed next week because she'll know all the things, and I'll just
I get to talk all about BJ.
Yeah, and then I'll have all the input of being sad and remembering that time.
I get to share that horrible story,
and not that she can't
story.
Exactly, not that she can't read from the book, but because this is when Bobbie was like really being like scandalous whenever people talk about we had to forgive each other for the past and like all the eulogies and stuff. And we're still kind of like, forgive each other for what? Because my first real memory of Bobbie was Bobbie and Tony whenever they got engaged. I will never forget their engagement. It is the engagement that I wanted. The Frisco and Felicia wedding, her dress was beautiful. She looked like a princess. Frisco, even at the age that I was then, was very handsome, had a very nice voice. My older sister had a crush on him, which meant I had to have a crush on him.
Of course.
But the engagement that I wanted was Bobbie and Tony. And so that's my first, like, going forward. So if you go from that point on...
Is that what I'm going to be covering?
I will have the engagement
okay.
And a little bit after that, and then you'll get into, like, the sad stuff.
Yay.
So,
yay for me.
Exactly. So... my memories are really, like, when people talk about Bobbie doing bad things, I know we heard, like, oh, she was younger, she had to be a prostitute. In my mind, she was 15, 16, so she had to be a prostitute. So that wasn't really bad. It was circumstances.
Right.
And then from her being with Tony on, like, what did she do bad? She was married to Tony. They had BJ, who was in the accident. They gave her heart away. She's a nurse. She does. What are people talking about these bad things? Right. And that is all of this. So I get to read it, and you can just sit there. Okay.
Well, yeah, because so even like the Curly Q girl didn't have the week by week or month by month breakdowns. Like it was, I think there was only 4 DVDs that basically had like a quick overview.
Right. So
like, it wasn't really.
It does mention that she came on in 1977, but the 1977 write-up of this does not have anything that she did. So I'm assuming that she was just like,
nurse girl. December is when she came. So it's like 1978.
Because they have a very pretty picture of her wearing the
beautiful picture.
The cute little hat that Felicia and Anna were just talking about. And it says head writer Douglas Marland gave General Hospital a dose of vitality when sexy student nurse Bobbie Spencer arrived on General Hospital's 7th floor in 1977. Bobbie desperately tried to keep her sordid street-walking past a secret from her new friends and colleagues at the hospital. But in 77, December makes sense. Thanks for knowing the dates, because I didn't. So then in 78, there was Barbara Jean Spencer, or simply Bobbie, as she was known to her friends. The flame-haired student nurse with the bright smile and bubbly personality found herself smitten with law student Scotty Baldwin, who was in the midst of a stormy courtship with Laura.
Vining at the time.
Exactly.
Okay.
Between his law studies and his support for his stepfather, Lee, who had fallen off the wagon and once again was battling alcoholism.
I was just asking someone the other day, is it off or on? So falling off the wagon means you're back with your vice. Okay.
Yes. There you go. Scotty had little time to spend with Laura, and Laura's infatuation with David Hamilton irritated Scotty. After one of Laura and Scotty's squabbles, Bobbie was there to pick up Scotty's spirits by taking him home to her rooming house, which was strictly against house policy. Bobbie paid a heavy price for taking in her overnight guest, eviction.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't think I'd have a man come home if I knew I could get evicted like that.
Right.
Anyway, with no place to turn, she accepted Jesse Brewer's generous offer to move into her spare room.
Oh. I didn't know that.
I know. I'm telling you, this is all the juicy stuff. Weeks later, Bobbie's fears were realized when she... Oh, I'm sorry. So it gives like a little blah, blah, blah about... One day at the hospital, a startled Bobbie ran into Cal Jamieson, the very same scoundrel who was attempting to extort money from Jeff Weber. He vaguely recognized Bobbie, and she nervously tried to hide the fact that she recognized him.
Oh.
Jamison's presence unnerved Bobbie. She knew that it was just a matter of time before he would recall where they'd met. Weeks later, Bobbie's fears were realized when she received a special delivery letter from Cal Jamieson threatening to expose her former lifestyle. As a hooker.
Is that what the book says?
Yes,
okay.
As a hooker, in case you didn't know.
And that's what the book says.
Yes, that was a proper terminology back then. I mean, they said that this
acceptable
week because somebody said... Who was that?
It was basically said that she was shamed of as...
Yeah, was it Tracy who said somebody said they knew better back then? And Tracy said,
and Carly had the conversation about that because Carly told Tracy she had been helping girls who were being trafficked.
She was talking about Luke.
And
she said Luke should have helped Bobbie. And Tracy said,
that's why it got in my head that Luke was going to be the one that was the coordinator. Yes. Because he was going to be helping these girls that he saw because he hadn't been able to help Bobbie. And then when Bobbie was there trying to settle his affairs, she found him. And by the way, guys, this is January 2024. We just did Bobbie's funeral. So this is where my speculation is coming from. This did not actually happen if you're listening to this in the future. But my speculation, my speculation was that Luke was the coordinator. And my thought was, and that's where I got that thought from.
Yes.
Was because Tracy said something about, well, we know better now. And Carly was like, you knew better back then. And Tracy's like, yeah, we just didn't.
She said back then it wouldn't have been the guy that got in trouble. Yeah. It would have been Bobbie.
Right.
Now it's called sex trafficking when you have young girls doing things out of desperation. Right. Back then, she was just considered
and they didn't talk about the fact this week that it was Ruby that was the one doing it.
Yeah.
Who she was an adult when but thankfully, I'm glad that they did not touch on that during her memorial because they loved Ruby. Right. So whatever happened, they worked through. So
yes. So the book does say a hooker. And he had a picture to prove it. Now I want to know, was it a Polaroid? What kind of camera were you using?
No, he threw that away. He would have had... Oh, yeah, I guess maybe. When did Polaroid happen?
I don't know.
Polaroid. You keep reading and I'll find it.
You snap a picture and someone not know? But a Polaroid, definitely, I guess someone would notice because that made that noise.
And then you have to shake it a little.
Shake it like a Polaroid picture. To keep Jameson at
All
bay.
these kids are like, I know that song.
Exactly.
No, guys, that
Oh my
came from
gosh.
something.
I'm going to throw a little mini reality check in the middle of this. We were watching Celebrity Jeopardy the other day.
Okay.
And it asked a question about a song, and I can't remember what song it was now, which it won't really matter if you're listening to this in the future because just a song. And Madeline instantly was like, what is blah, 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 blah. And Ryan was like, how do you know that song? That song is so old. And she's like, oh, it's on TikTok. So there you go. Kids learn things. So
Are you talking about Hey Ya?
no.
Or no, you were just talking about in general,
It was
the
just
song.
in general.
Okay.
I'll have to ask her what song that was.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah. So if you don't know what Shake It Like a Polaroid picture is, then you can, I don't know what'll be available after TikTok, but look that up. Maybe you'll find it. So anyway, to keep Jameson at bay, a jittery Bobbie began to send him hush money, which is like sad because she probably didn't have much money since
Right.
she's just a nursing student.
Yeah.
So then the Bobbie-Scotty relationship began to fail when Scotty chose to devote more time to Laura. He tried to be honest with Bobbie, sharing his feelings about Laura with her, but Bobbie simply refused to listen. She had feelings for Scotty. In fact, Scott Baldwin was the first man, this is so sad and sweet at the same time, Scotty Baldwin was the first man Bobbie Spencer had ever slept with whom she truly loved.
Oh.
Right? Like,
I'm glad that they said loved and not just, okay.
yeah. First man she truly loved. So believing that Scotty's change of heart was all Laura's fault, a scheming Bobbie set out to destroy her rival. Bobbie placed a call to her older brother Luke, asking for his help in sending Laura to reform school. This chick has been trouble for me for a long time. I want her sent to reform school, she told Luke. Bobbie engineered a plan designed to make Laura break her curfew. And she convinced Luke to do the dirty work.
Love how much that breaking curfew
Right?
was scandalous.
Right?
I miss these innocent days from before I was born.
Right? Knowing that Scotty planned to take Laura for a, air quotes, special dinner at the Lakeview Lodge, a hotel and restaurant,
Ooh.
40 miles from Port Charles, Bobbie coerced her brother to sneak into the restaurant parking lot, lift the hood on Scotty's car, and tamper with the engine so that it would break down on the road back to Port Charles. No problem for Luke. He'd made a career out of performing low-level crimes much more difficult than this. There ain't no mechanic up here in the boondocks who is ever going to figure out what I did with that carburetor, he boasted in a phone call to Bobbie. Bobbie added to the scheme by calling the Lakeview Lodge to make a reservation in Scotty Baldwin's name. This way it will look like they had more than dinner in mind. Bobbie's plan worked like a charm. Of course, Bobbie put the finishing touches on her scheme by secretly placing a call to John Higgins, the court-appointed investigator, alerting him to Laura's probation violation. This was back whenever, like, that whole who killed whatever, blah, blah, blah.
David Hamilton.
Laura, but I didn't get into all that because that's not Bobbie.
Correct.
Thanks to Luke, who assisted Bobbie in scheme after scheme, the threat of reform school became a stark reality. And if those maneuvers didn't work to get Laura out of Scotty's mind, then Bobbie had one more trick up her sleeve. Dun dun dun.
Oh my. Okay.
Pregnancy. So then we move on to 1979, and
Hold it. So wait a second. I know that Luke came after Bobbie. His whole reason for coming was to break up Scotty and Laura. Or to get, okay.
Yes, that's the whole reason he came, was Bobbie called him and was like, hey, big brother, help me out. And he was like, okay, do anything for my sister. So cute. Even back then.
But I love that the core of that entire thing carried through their entire time on the show.
Right.
Like, it's not like the animosity between Luke and Scott and the complexity of Laura being involved and Bobbie being involved ever went away. It just changed over. Wow. Okay. I knew this, but I guess just hearing it said that way was just like,
I know.
That's really.
Okay, so I'm going to sidetrack. This is not Bobbie. This is just a fun General Hospital fact that neither of us knew.
We do that all the time. It's okay.
So, over the years, General Hospital has often dealt frankly and realistically with the psychological problems of the residents of Port Charles.
Mm-hmm.
On several occasions, Dr. Irene Catasora, a real-life psychologist, has led on-air group therapy sessions. Unique to daytime drama, the scenes were freewheeling and virtually unscripted.
What?
Here, Dr. Cavassa spearheads a 1978 encounter group involving Leslie Weber's troubles with her teenage daughter, Laura. Isn't that the coolest thing ever?
Oh my gosh!
Like, and again, I know, I'm sorry, it doesn't have to do with Bobbie, but I can't ignore
No, but
the little side issues. Because I'm like, blah, 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 you know, just reading for, you know, to find the Bobbie stuff. And I'm like, what? They had a therapist do groups, but they told the doctors, like, no, just go from your real life and let's see what happens.
And wow.
That's so cool.
Okay, so I know that AA is supposed to be anonymous and everything, but that really would be great if they had people volunteering to be part of the AA meetings that we see. Obviously, they are not going to be anonymous, but actually sharing.
Right?
How many times could that possibly have actually happened, though, and we don't even know?
Right.
Okay, cool.
So excited.
All right,
so now it's 1979. For a time in early 1979, it appeared as if Bobbie had won her war against Laura by claiming to be pregnant with Scotty's child. And to ensure that her scheme would work, Bobbie saw to it that all the bases were covered, even producing a positive pregnancy test.
Oh.
Simple test
she was a nurse.
Switch. So we were switching test results way back in 79.
Okay.
That convinced Scotty she was telling the truth.
Was on the show.
I know, that would be such a good fact.
Okay.
We need to find that out. If anyone knows that, like, write in and tell us, because that'd be so cool.
Yeah.
By tricking Scotty into a marriage proposal to give the baby a last name, Bobbie opened up the old wounds of Laura's mistrust of people. Scotty reluctantly agreed to marry Bobbie, but not to sleep with her ever again.
Oh.
Not sure how that was going to work, Scotty, but okay. Unfortunately, their wedding would never happen. Just days before the nuptials were to take place, Leslie's secret sleuthing proved that Bobbie was never really pregnant. A relieved Scotty blasted Bobbie for her trickery, then raced back into Laura's open arms.
Oh.
Yep. Bobbie, not one to take defeat lightly, continued to make plans for revenge on all those who had caused her hurt and humiliation. She was more desperate than ever to break up Scotty and Laura and continued to put out SOS calls to the master, Luke, to help her with her dirty work. But Luke was becoming bored with her vengeance plots. Was his once cold heart beginning to warm towards his former enemy, Laura Weber? Dun, dun, dun.
I wonder how that's going to work out for them. Oh, my.
Do you wonder what's going to happen?
Oh, I will say that I did watch there was a video, I think it was after the Night at the Disco.
Okay.
Where Luke assaulted Laura, that she was home, and Scotty was like, I'm really glad that Luke's there to take care of you. You know, like he felt comfortable with Luke being, I didn't get the whole around the scene and everything, but I was like, so Scotty didn't always hate Luke?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so there was like back and forth between Laura and Scotty because the wedding wasn't coming fast enough and she wasn't trusting him and blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to get into Laura and Scotty because that's Laura and Scotty. So Scotty's upset because Laura's losing trust in him, blah, blah, blah. In despair, Scotty turns to drink. Thankfully, Brian and Lee, both recovering alcoholics, pulled him out of the trap. But not before Bobbie hatched another elaborate scheme designed to snare Scotty once and for all. Bobbie convinced her sometimes boyfriend, Roy DiLucca, as a practical joke, to lift the ring from Scotty's pocket, and one night at the disco persuaded the bartender to slip a Mickey. I love this terminology. Slip a Mickey to Scotty. Bobbie then took a semi-conscious Scotty back to his apartment and awaited Laura's appearance. When the doorbell rang at his apartment, Bobbie dimmed the lights, messed up her hair, then made certain that Scotty's ring was on her finger before opening the door to a stunned Laura. And this is the clip that we saw.
They just showed on the
Why
memorial.
do you look so surprised, taunted Bobbie. How long did you think you could treat Scotty like dirt without him turning to someone else? I had no idea that was like, it didn't really happen.
Right, like Bobbie or Scotty was not
part of
willingly.
Yes. Right? Did you know
with
that?
Bobbie? No.
See, it's like, what?
I thought it was Bobbie. Scotty was upset about Laura, and so therefore he hooked up with Bobbie, and Bobbie just, the stereotypical scene where.
Right. They just cheat on each other because that's what they do all the time.
But it wasn't. It was Bobbie basically drugged Scotty and then led Laura to believe that Scotty was there on his own free will.
Yep. So then Scotty and Laura reconcile back together, whatever, married, blah, blah, blah. So, free of her obsession for Scotty, Bobbie found herself falling in love with Roy DiLucca. Within weeks, they were engaged. To add to the rosy scenario, Bobbie soon became a full-fledged nurse to the delight of her mentor, Jesse Brewer. Bobbie's private life was in turmoil, though. Her scandalous past life as a hooker came back to haunt her. Now, blackmailer Cal Jamison demanded $1,000, or he swore to provide Audrey with explicit details of her past, including pictures. $1,000 is a lot of money back then, especially
I still
for a
wouldn't be able
brand
to
new nurse. Like, sorry, you're gonna have to send those pictures in. I don't have $1,000.
But I just money now to be like,
that's a lot of money, but like to hush something forever.
Right.
Okay. Like if you could hide any dirty secrets you had for $1,000, you'd come up with it. But back then, like, I'm not sure that you would.
That's the equivalent of $4,031.07 today. Oh, hold it. No, that's wrong. I'm sorry. That was in 2022. So it's probably closer to maybe $4,500 now.
All right. So then Luke was getting involved with Frank Smith and all that stuff was happening. Again, not going too far into it, but that's where we're at. And he was, at the time, marked for death. So as counterpoint to this action, Bobbie found herself confronted in the hospital by a former John, and the shocking truth that Bobbie was once a former hooker finally came out for all to hear. When Roy found out, he beat the man up and furiously confronted Bobbie.
Ooh.
Hopelessly embarrassed, Bobbie gave Roy back her engagement ring. Sad.
Mm-hmm. It's not like she was doing it while they were together.
No, exactly. She'd done it years and years before. Like, dude. And she was only doing it because she had to. This was the year that Aunt Ruby came to town also. Where's the Forest Hills? And I know if you're in New York, there's a Forest Hills, New York. There's a Forest Hills, Pennsylvania. But in the 80s, they're constantly talking about the Forest Hills Sanitarium. Like that's a special place. FYI.
Did we go over that?
I don't remember us talking about that.
I feel like we might have. Just because I feel like we had this conversation about, hey, look at we did.
Did we?
It was the local sanitarium. Heather Weber was first locked up there. And that's when she met Sarah Abbott. And that's when Heather even hid a gun in the doll that she always carried around.
A doll?
Yeah, Heather was carrying around.
Oh, because she was like weird about the whole baby stuff.
Yes.
Okay, so that is what all of the rest of 79 and 80 get into. It doesn't really mention Bobbie that much because this is all Luke and Laura and...
Yeah, they kind of ruled the 81.
And Alan was having his illegitimate children with someone, and Laura wasn't sure what was going to happen with them. Luke and Laura. All the way into 81. It was so hard to not want to just continue reading all of this stuff.
Does it talk about Luke or Roy?
It doesn't talk about Roy as anything more than like part of Luke's whole stuff. Because now we're getting into the Ice Princess too, because Laura and Luke are working for Frank Smith, blah, 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 blah.
Okay, so I will say that... So I'm just looking on fandom.
Go ahead.
And it says that she then fell in love with her brother's business partner, Roy DiLucca. They planned on getting married, but he died in her arms after an assassination attempt on a prominent politician.
There was a picture of
that. And then after she fell in love with Dr. Noah Drake.
Okay, yeah, hold on.
When did she... Okay,
so that was 79. I love you. And we've seen this before. I love you were the last words spoken by Bobbie Spencer's fiancé, Roy DiLucca, who was gunned down by security guards after his failed attempt to complete a mob-ordered hit on newly elected state senator Mitch Williams.
Right, because that was Tracy's... Yeah.
Yes. Mortally wounded, Roy stumbled to the street and died in Bobbie's arms.
Okay.
Dun, dun, dun. Sorry.
I remember seeing that was definitely
in this. I had to post it on the Great Memories
picture,
and didn't realize that I hadn't just moved it. So thank you for calling me out on that.
I remembered that Roy died in the 70s, and that's why I was like, I feel like he died before.
And she was so sad.
Luke and Laura.
She was so sad. Well, that was the whole. Roy worked with Luke, and he was in all the schemy stuff. Yes, so not steamy, schemy stuff. So he got killed then. So then it moves on to what you were just saying. Bobbie was now romantically involved with a dashing hip new surgeon, Noah Drake. The romance swiftly progressed to the serious stage, but Bobbie's past was about to catch up with her. After they made love for the first time, she moved some of her belongings into Noah's apartment. Still, the roving Romeo could not bring himself to make a commitment. Frustrated by the fact that Noah couldn't say I love you, Bobbie faked blindness. What? Bobbie faked blindness to gain his affection. Although Noah...
That's a new one.
Right? If your husband ever starts being a jerk, just I can't say! I'm sure it was a little more involved than that. But...
Oh, I'm sure.
Although Noah admitted his love in a moment of panic, he later recanted his confession.
Ouch!
I know. No one can force another person to love them, he coldly told Bobbie. Heartbroken and split up with Noah, she prepared to leave Port Charles. Aren't you so sad?
Yeah.
It's not nice.
No.
And then it does have a picture of Bobbie Spencer sharing a relaxing evening with handsome surgeon Dr. Noah Drake. Bobbie hoped to marry Noah, but the blue-blooded Romeo couldn't bear the thought of settling down. I would love to see more of his information, too, because they talk about what a playboy he was. And then there's more about Luke and Laura and Tiffany and all of that. And then we move into 1982. Nice picture of Luke and Jackie Templeton. Not good, not good. They need to stay away from each other. Oh, Robert and Tiffany. See, this is like, I remember this stuff from my mom. And then we get into 83 was whenever we got some more good Bobbie information. Okay. So she greeted her brother Luke's return with a mixture of shock and joy. And this was, remember, him and Laura went away for a while and they were doing whatever. So that's what
year is this?
From. 83, did I just say?
Oh, Luke died in the avalanche in 83, I think.
Yes, great red memories. Yeah. Avalanche. While on a hiking trip in the mountains in 1983, Luke Spencer suddenly heard a strange rumbling noise. Looking up, he was horrified to see a wall of snow descending toward him. Hit by the full force of the avalanche, Luke was paralyzed, it says.
I thought that they thought he was dead because that's when Holly thought that he was pregnant with his baby, and that's why Robert married her to keep her in the States.
Right.
I love this show.
Yeah, because it goes on to say that Robert insisted after she was a U.S. citizen, she could have Luke's baby and then get a divorce. All right, but I'm not getting into all that.
Okay.
The picture specifically says paralyzed. That's all I'm going to go with that, because if not, we're in a whole new rabbit hole.
Yep.
So he returns, and Bobbie's like, oh my gosh, Luke, I can't believe you're here. I'm so shocked and joyed. And Bobbie's own love life has taken a dramatic turn. After saying goodbye once and for all to Noah Drake, he left, by the way. Alone and dismayed, Noah left General Hospital for a new surgical position in Atlanta. Poor Bobbie. All of her men just keep leaving her. Oh, and then it has a little snippet of Luke running for office, and his opponent was Lee Baldwin. Mm-hmm. And that then Scotty artfully began using smear tactics to discredit Luke, and he even threatened to expose Bobbie's past life as a hooker in an attempt to persuade Luke to drop out of the mayoral race. Bobbie and Ruby pled with him to stop, but Scotty denied any involvement in the smear campaign, and then finally Ruby told Lee what was going on, and that goes into a storyline about them. But I can't believe, like, when Scotty talks about being a jerk to Bobbie, I did not know.
Yeah, he really,
he didn't tell what a jerk he was?
Yeah.
So, all right, then Bobbie gets involved with Brock.
DL Brock.
I'm not sure that I can't I don't want to get into all the stuff with, like, whatever. It is crazy to read all this, though, and already hear them talking about, like, the DVX and all that stuff. I'm like, they really did a good job of bringing all this stuff back because you're, like, invested now. So in September, Bobbie discovered that she was pregnant with Brock's child. However, she couldn't tell him because the hard-headed D.L. Brock, who had a grown daughter, Terry, had made it abundantly clear that he didn't want any more kids.
Oh.
To make matters worse, Bobbie soon learned that her pregnancy was in jeopardy because of her previous abortions. Bobbie, however, suffered a miscarriage. I know. I never knew why she couldn't have kids. I did not know that she couldn't have kids, but she could not. So other people are getting pregnant. Bobbie's getting sad. She's upset. So in the hospital, a depressed and secretive Bobbie called off her wedding to Brock after suffering the miscarriage. Upon her release, she received more devastating news when Dr. Mason informed her that she should have a hysterectomy. Troubled by the cold facts, Bobbie put off the painful decision. Stavros and Laura. So then we move on to 84. And
so, real quick, Fandom says that she did not tell DL after she miscarried.
No.
That's what I was waiting to hear.
Oh, okay. Nope. She did not tell him. We're going to get into that into 84. So, the new year began with the simple wedding of Bobbie Spencer and D.L. Brock. Just before the ceremony, Bobbie informed Ruby that she still hadn't told Brock she needed a hysterectomy. Lee pronounced Bobbie and Brock husband and wife, and Bobbie cringed slightly when her groom offered a toast to his bride. To Bobbie, who will make the best wife and mother ever. Oh, I know, so sad. Let me see where it goes to next. I was loving this storyline. Not loving it like in a good way.
No, it's a lot of information that we've never really heard
we've had
about.
These books for so long, and I've never gone back and read the early stuff because it was before me.
Right.
So, stuff going on between Brock and Rick Weber and all this other stuff. And this is whenever Ginny Blake was around and she was claiming to be Mike's mother. Remember we talked about the kid Mike that they wanted to adopt, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So that's all of that stuff. So at the same time, meanwhile, Bobbie, dismayed that she couldn't give Brock a child, overheard him on the phone with Ginny, and she began to suspect that he was having an affair. When she confronted him, Brock reassured his new wife that she was the only one and suggested that she looks into adopting a child. But when she set up the appointment with an adoption agency, he refused to go. So she was sad there. So
you can't really force that on someone, though. Like,
yeah, but why are you going to suggest it to me and then not go with me?
Yeah, that's true.
Like, don't even mention it then.
Yeah.
What the heck? What are you doing, Brock? Okay, so then there was a storm of controversy erupting at General Hospital when Brock exposed Dr. Rick Weber as a crook who had taken a bribe from a Delise employee, Ginny Blake. So he set the whole thing up. I don't want to get into side storyline too much, but he set the whole thing up where he had her come to take this bribe, but he had told her that he was just going to give her money, so it wasn't a bribe. Okay. But whenever she took the money, then they got it on camera, so it looked like a bribe. And so, everyone was trying to not get in trouble. Like, Ginny didn't want to get in trouble, blah, blah, blah. At the hospital, Brock ripped into Leslie about harassing Ginny. A distraught Leslie Weber took off for home, but would never get there. On Friday, March 9th, Police Chief Bert Ramsey showed up at the Webers with grim news that Leslie's car had skidded off the road into an ice storm.
That's what we talked about!
Yes.
Yep.
So, I'm sorry, Rick, she's gone. Rick reeled from the shock. His beloved Leslie was gone. In the days after the tragedy, Rick was cleared when Bobbie went to Robert Scorpio with the information that Ginny was an actress. Robert coerced a confession out of Ginny and had Brock print a retraction in the newspaper. Rick could have sued, but had decided to drop the matter for Mike's sake. Hurt by the tragic turn of events, Rick warned Ginny to stay away from Mike, and then it goes on about that storyline. But she was the one that was like, hey, no, that's not what happened.
Right.
She's actually an actress, and she did this just for the picture, so that's not what happened. So then Bobbie Brock, which is what it says, which is really weird.
Oh, yeah.
Her name is something different. Bobbie Brock grew increasingly distanced from her husband, DL. When he struck back by hitting her, she kicked him out. Yet, hoping to save their marriage, she allowed him to return and even mortgaged her house to save Delise from going under. Nevertheless, when Brock learned that Delise products weren't selling, he hired an arsonist to burn the place down. To complicate matrimonial matters, Brock's spoiled and snobby daughter, Terry, moved in with her dad. Her presence put an incredible strain on the Brock marriage. Soon Terry got into a huge fight with her father, and she headed for a bar, where she proceeded to get herself arrested. Bobbie bailed her out, and slowly the two women bonded. I feel like that would be weird to have a stepdaughter that's close to the same age as you, but okay. So now we're into 1985. Early 1985, Bobbie questions her own marriage to D.L. Brock. I mean, this is a while now she's been putting up with him being abusive. Like, you should have questioned this. So he had become even more violent and abusive in the new year, and Bobbie realized that Brock was unbalanced when he accused her in public of having an affair with Dr. Rick Weber. Ginny Weber was also subjected to Brock's wrath when he tormented her about the time she spent in jail for smuggling drugs. "I'll ruin you," he threatened in a rage. Brock's threats filled the once fiery Ginny with despair, especially as her love for Rick grew stronger. Somehow she had to stop him. After one last blow-up, Bobbie and Terry realized they had to get away from Brock, who had turned into a maniac. He arrived at their penthouse just as Terry and Bobbie packed some clothes to move out. A bitter argument resulted, and Brock brandished a gun. As Terry ran, he knocked Bobbie out, and she fell unconscious behind a sofa. Ginny arrived on the scene intending to threaten Brock with a fake gun, but Brock surprised her by pulling out his real gun. Brock and Ginny struggled, and Brock's own gun went off, killing him.
Oh!
The police...
Well, because Ginny Blake was murdered, and I still don't know that whole story. So, okay, right? Yeah, I'm glad that wasn't just ruined.
Right? So the police arrested and charged Bobbie with murder. Ruby, Rick, Dan, Jesse, and others gave her moral support as Jake Meyer struggled to defend her against the charges. Eventually, Robert Scorpio tracked down the real killer, Ginny, and scared her into telling the truth. In the aftermath, Rick couldn't forgive his wife for her behavior towards Bobbie, but promised to stand by her for Mike's sake. Go ahead.
Well, no. So when Bobbie was giving Alexis advice, it was based on her relationship with DL.
Right. Remember she said I had been in an abusive relationship?
Yeah, I thought she meant like when she was being trafficked as a teenager.
Yeah, no.
That she had been in a horrible situation. She was referring to him.
She gave both examples.
Okay.
She said, I had been in a bad situation, but I didn't recognize that.
Okay.
So then I moved on to another bad situation in my marriage. It's a pattern, and that's what you need to watch out for with Christina.
I was a hot mess during the
I
whole
understand.
thing,
so I'm just going to clarify for you because, she was just explaining how it becomes a pattern, and then...
Right. You think that that's what you deserve, and that's comfortable for you, so you stay in it because real actual love doesn't feel comfortable because there's no strings attached. Oh, my God.
And this is Therapy with Shannon. So, in her distress, Ginny turned to Derek for solace, who offered her a shoulder to cry on and a bed to make love in. As Ginny's trial approached, Jake worried that Bobbie would seek revenge on Ginny. But in fact, Bobbie's upcoming testimony was the talk of the town. What would she say under oath? To everyone's surprise, Bobbie did the unexpected and exonerated Ginny. She told a stunned courtroom that Brock had been in a homicidal rage on the night of his death. Thanks to Bobbie's courtroom admission, Ginny Weber was set free.
Nice.
Good job doing the right thing, Bobbie.
Well, she was finally free to say exactly what was happening.
Right. So then Bobbie was... she was starting to get involved with Jake. So though busy with his law practice, Jake Meyer couldn't get Bobbie Brock out of his mind. Released from jail, she continued to see Jake, but a romance was out of the question. Bobbie was determined to become a self-sufficient woman, free from the heartaches of men. The two were drawn together when they bought and renovated a brownstone on Elm Street. As the exciting project neared completion, they began to assemble tenants for their new dwelling. And just a fun fact, do you want to know who one of their first tenants was?
I know this. It was Noah Drake, right? No. I know who it is. We talked about this before.
Two of the tenants were Bobbie's stepdaughter, Terry Brock, which again, odd whatever, and young Dr. Kevin O'Connor. And then there's like a whole bunch of drama between Kevin and Terry.
Ryan Chamberlain was one of their
same whatever
tenants.
he did.
That's
he
what.
did.
Okay, that's what I was thinking of. Okay.
Yeah, that was not the first one.
Okay.
So
You can't control who Terry's dad was, so that's nice of her too.
You can't. And then this side has me all distracted because it's talking about Mr. Wu, and now I'm like, I need to talk to Mrs. Wu again. Oh my gosh, blah blah blah.
We talked about all that during the Asian Quarter.
I know. And then here is Robin coming back to Anna.
Oh,
and
love. At the time, she was still love.
Right, exactly. Oh, crazy.
We need to play that dice game.
Oh, yeah, we'd be better at it now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my gosh, yes. Okay, I'm ready.
And we could get my aunt to help because it was so funny because when we were talking about something and I said something about Brenda and she's like, Brenda, like back from the dead attending her own funeral, Brenda? And I'm like, yes.
That's
and she's like, okay. And I'm like, if that's your last reference of the show, then yeah.
I'm surprised you haven't got her re-addicted yet.
That's true. Oh my gosh, why haven't I?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, I got to work on this.
All right, yeah. So, at the renovated brownstone, Bobbie and Jake enjoyed playing landlord to a group of young people, including Frisco and Felicia. I'm just going to list off some of the people.
Can we stop using the word name Jake, though?
Right?
Okay.
The brownstone gang got along splendidly, except for the two that I talked about a minute ago.
Is that who Jake's is named after?
I have no idea.
Because isn't that why they named Jake? Was because that was what Jason lived over, was Jake's at the time.
Was that Jake? Was this Jake?
Was that Jake? Was that Jake of Jake's? Was that the Jake's Jake? Or is that another Jake?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know if Jake also owned a Jake's.
If you know the answer to this, did we did a 411 on Jake's, didn't we?
We did, but even if they would have said the name, we wouldn't have known who that was.
To be fair, we have done over 250 411s, and yeah. So
anyway, same thing. Terry, they reused the name Terry.
Yes.
So Terry and Kevin had a sordid past from their hometown. Not going to get into that, other than pretending to be lovers. Jake and Bobbie set out to investigate Terry, but they didn't get very far because the information wasn't so easy to ascertain, because everyone, including Terry's own grandmother, Jennifer Talbot, was exceedingly uncooperative. What could the people of Laurelton possibly be hiding? So now this is a whole new town that I don't ever remember hearing, Laurelton. So they should totally bring that up. Because they talk about Beecher's Corners, and they talk about whatchamacallit in here like it's an everyday thing. So now we have a new town that's not new, but we have a new town to me that I want them to.
Why does it say Laurelton Murders General Hospital? Oh, there's a there's a write up about this. That's when we got Lucy. Oh,
I know. Stop. See? Do you understand? Okay. Like, even just using the book, I'm like, oh wait, no, I didn't store that because it wasn't important, but I really love it. Okay, so
I will not look.
It's so hard.
Oh my god, I want to go. Okay.
So hard. So back and forth, all this stuff. Tenants at the brownstone not getting along. Ends up being
a landlord's hard.
And, well, this is really hard. Ends up being a murder in the brownstone.
That's even more difficult.
So the mysterious murder inside the brownstone sent shockwaves through Port Charles. Who could have committed such a heinous act of violence? Who was the unfortunate victim? The brownstone had been secretly locked at the time of the crime. Secretly? What? Or securely, that's why, because I can't read. I'm like, why did it secretly locked? It wasn't. It was securely locked. This is why I shouldn't have mimosas when I'm trying to read. Had been securely locked at the time of the crime. Chief Anna Devane began her investigation by making the building's residents her prime suspect. Jake insisted that Bobbie tell the authorities that she had seen a sleepwalking Terry carrying the very same knife that someone had plunged into the victim's back.
Wow.
Dun, dun, dun.
This is what they really screwed up with the hook.
Yep.
Sorry.
I know. There's so much in here.
That would have been such a great whodunit.
There's so much in here that I'm really trying to not pay attention to. We got Frisco. We got the other Kevin.
I wonder what the murder count is on the show, too.
That's a real good one.
How would we even get started? And I'm talking about, yes, it's murder, but do we count the shootouts?
Right.
Or do we just count like this, you know?
Right. I don't know.
I don't know either.
I doubt there's a count.
How do you think we should track the murders on General Hospital?
Yeah, that's
Email us at peer54podcast@gmail.com. Also, if you have any additional information that is being missed during this time, please let us know.
Yes. So, trial of who killed this person, what went on, blah, blah, blah. They need Lucy to confirm an alibi. She's nowhere to be found. What are we going to do?
Oh, we have to do a 411 on Lucy sometime.
So, continuing on, who did what, blah, blah, blah. Frisco and Felicia being together.
Got married.
Yeah, when he's saying Lady of My Heart, which again has nothing to do with Bobbie, but it was so dark.
And there's Duke and Anna doing the tango. That would have, okay, I know that you hate the tango that Duke and Anna do, but that would have been amazing if on the 60th anniversary show, they had Anne Buchanan come back, and as Kelly and Val were like, as he did the dip, he and Finola came out and were like,
Oh, that would have been
cool.
Yes, that would have.
That would have been.
I would give you that.
That would have been really
okay.
neat. Yes.
All right. So
sorry.
No, you're good. So this is when Tony was with Tanya.
Okay.
So that's why there's like not much about Bobbie, because she's just kind of doing her own whatever. Blah
she
blah blah.
was there, but just not really. She didn't have her own storyline. She was kind of just bouncing around.
Exactly.
She was in the hospital doing some nursing stuff, you know, keeping people alive.
Right. All right.
The irony that Finola Hughes was in Staying Alive.
So as 1986 drew to a close, several couples celebrated their good fortune. Of everyone, Tony and Tanya Jones had to be the happiest twosome in Port Charles. After Tanya went into premature labor, Bobbie and her fiancé, Jake, rushed to her side to assist in the delivery of a beautiful baby girl. In appreciation, the Jones named their newborn daughter Barbara Jean, or BJ for short. Bobbie, witnessing Jake's excitement over BJ's birth, became distressed by the realization that she would never be able to bear him a child. Confiding her feelings to the man she loved, Bobbie set out to find the right woman to serve as a surrogate mother to have Jake's baby. Learning of Bobbie's plight, Lucy Coe's ears perked up. Oh, that Lucy, what could she possibly have on her mind now? I feel bad that, like, we're celebrating the birth of this baby, and then we're like, no, that's not what we want to happen.
Real quick, the Jake that Jake's was named after was a woman.
Oh.
And I remember that.
Oh, we did
talk about that.
Yes.
Yep. Okay.
Yes.
But you can go listen to the entire 411 about, it's actually under the floating rib.
Right. Do you know how Tony's wife died?
Yeah.
Do you know what she was doing? Like, why she was out that day?
No.
She was shopping for a birthday present for Tony. I just wanted to make you sad with me.
Women, don't buy your husband's presents.
Right. Order them from somewhere. Don't go out.
That's why I shop on Amazon.
We're not sponsored by Amazon. You can shop anywhere.
We should be sponsored by Amazon.
To be sponsored by Amazon.
My life is sponsored by Amazon. I just pay for it.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
To be fair,
it is the same.
No, but it's nice. You can set up subscriptions.
True.
Dear Jeff Bezos, just call me.
I'm going to give this tidbit. I know that, again, it's not Bobbie, but
sometimes it matters.
Yeah, we saw the hug between Bobbie and Lucy.
Yeah.
About all the BJ stuff. So, and this kind of shows you where Lucy went from being the nice librarian to... So after the death of his beloved wife, Tanya, Frisco's brother, Tony Jones, was vulnerable and lonely, the perfect candidate to become ensnared in Lucy Coe's trap. Lucy became BJ's new nanny, didn't know that, and began preying on Tony's sympathies. Soon after moving into Tony's home, Lucy was about to suffer a terrible tragedy of her own. Rushed to General Hospital with severe abdominal pains, Lucy miscarried her baby. Do you know who Lucy's baby daddy was?
Was it Tony?
It was Bobbie's Jake.
Oh. So it didn't start with Scott?
It started with Jake.
All right, here's the deal. We've been asking you guys to, if you want to do a 411 for us, like, please tell us your favorite storyline. Oh my gosh, if you know Lucy and Bobbie's story, I had no idea.
Yep.
Oh.
Yep. They had a one-night stand, and she got pregnant.
While he was with Bobbie?
And she got pregnant, and she didn't want the baby.
But wait a second. Didn't Bobbie do the same thing to Laura? Oh.
We're not talking about karma here.
All right.
So Lucy got pregnant, and Lucy was like, no, you know what? I don't want the baby. So you guys can raise it, because I know that you were saying that you wanted the baby. So Bobbie's like, all right, I'm going to not forgive, I'm sure, but deal with you even though you slept with my husband, because you're going to have a baby.
Right.
But then that is whenever Lucy miscarried her baby.
Oh. So their problems were pretty darn deep.
Right. And Jake took the loss of his child with great difficulty. Thank God we still have each other, he told Bobbie tearfully as they abandoned their surrogacy plans and began exploring the possibility of adopting a child.
What year was this?
1980.
Oh, never mind. You're still in the 80s. I am determined to find out when Molly
87.
Shannon was surrogate number 2.
You're a dork.
She brought it up. I didn't. Maybe I'll just write her a letter. Or an email. Dear Molly Shannon, we have a shared name.
So I need to know what surrogate you were.
Whose surrogate were you trying to be?
So
Are you Irish? I am.
This makes me really mad sad as someone who's had a miscarriage, and it makes me want to punch Lucy, but I'm going to forgive her because she's become a better person since then. So Lucy stepped up her quest to snare Tony. Within days of her miscarriage, she was back in the Jones household using her now trim body to entice Tony, who couldn't help but notice Lucy's stunning shape.
Tell me a man wrote that story without telling me a man wrote that story. I hate that whole thing that I just said. But seriously, a man 100% wrote. First of all, no. Body, nope. Secondly, pretty darn sure she would not be feeling it. And thirdly, I don't think she'd have been able to, correct?
Right.
Okay, cool.
Right. She didn't hook up with him then. She was just dressing like whatever. But she wouldn't be able to hook up with him for quite some time. So again,
but still, emotionally, you would not.
But it seemed like she wasn't really emotional because she had already, not that giving your baby up for adoption means you don't care, but she was just like, okay.
But if anything, that's actually more because she was emotionally invested in giving that baby to somebody else. So therefore, she would have felt that she had let 3 people down, not just herself.
Right.
In my opinion. I don't know. Right, I didn't watch the storyline.
Nope. So, I'm just going to continue with a little more Lucy so we understand.
Okay, yes. You have to give them side stories sometimes.
Exactly.
No one has ever written in and been like, why'd you talk more about that side story?
I'm just saying, I can't just stick to one storyline. I got to give you other.
Guess what? Neither can the show.
Sure. There we go.
They all overlap at some point.
So, as the days passed, Tony tried in vain to fight his temptation. One night, he gave in to his lust and kissed her passionately. I'm so sorry, he apologized, retreating upstairs. Oozing sex appeal, Lucy was unstoppable. On yet another steamy night, craving her artful form, Tony kissed Lucy again. Finally, he couldn't contain his lust another second. After an arousing game of Scrabble...
You know what? Listen.
Nothing gets you going like some Scrabble?
Oh, I've been trying to hold that in. But that is it for me.
Triple word points, baby. Take your clothes off. So, after an arousing game of Scrabble...
Triple X has a new meaning then. Triple X word score.
Anyway...
I want to see that Scrabble game.
Right. Like, I wonder what words they were putting. If they were putting, sexy words.
Do they make sexy Scrabble?
They don't, but we should market that. Or not that I know of anyway. I suck at regular Scrabble. So, I probably wouldn't be very good at sexy Scrabble. But we should market that. Like, in the back of Spencer's, get your sexy Scrabble endorsed by Amanda and Shannon. Anyway... after an arousing game of Scrabble, Tony carried Lucy off to bed for the first time. Despite the stern warnings of his wary friends, Dr. Jones took the sexy Miss Coe as his wife in a hastily arranged ceremony.
What?
The spare wedding didn't faze Lucy. She had triumphantly nabbed her prey. Now Lucy Jones was determined to take her new place as the dutiful beneficial wife of a prominent Port Charles doctor. Lucy's wacky and tacky Aunt Charlene. I love Aunt Charlene! You don't know Aunt Charlene, do you?
I saw her during something, because remember, I didn't know who she was. And I was like, who is this one? What was it?
I don't know, but I love Aunt Charlene.
Like, that's when I met her.
I love Aunt Charlene. Anyway.
Did she have anything to do with the Aztec princess during that time? Maybe. I don't know. I know that I discovered her, and I was like, who the heck is this woman?
That's Aunt Charlene, if you need to see a picture of her.
Okay.
Lucy's wacky and tacky Aunt Charlene sashayed into town, intending to share her niece's good fortune. Charlene, a Southern belle with dubious credentials, insinuated herself into the Joneses' household as the housekeeper without telling Tony that Lucy was kin. "You're nothing but a whore," bellowed a livid Bobbie to Lucy upon hearing of the marriage to Tony. I love this. At the time, Bobbie was on the long road back from paralysis. She was helped through therapy by a marvelous, optimistic, paraplegic Martha McKean, who was suffering from pneumonia. When Martha took a turn for the worse, Bobbie and Jake became guardians of her 2 children, teenager Melissa and 10-year-old Skeeter. As Bobbie's limbs grew stronger, she felt up to the task of raising the McKee children. Melissa posed the biggest problem when she rebelled against Bobbie's house rules, spurring her boyfriend, Corey Blythe, and began hanging out with a bad crowd.
I don't know who any of these people are.
I don't either. I didn't know that Bobbie had somebody else's kids.
Right.
2 kids.
Like, where were they?
I don't know. I don't ever remember seeing them. One wild night, the rowdy Skeeter.
Martha?
Skeeter's little. Melissa is the older girl.
Okay.
No, Melissa's 2 children, teenager Melissa and 10-year-old Skeeter.
Okay.
All right. So they're not listening to Bobbie. So one wild night, the rowdy teenagers ended up robbing Kelly's and injuring Ruby.
No.
In fear, Melissa and her friend Lori ran away. Taking a bus to Miami, they became instant prey to a pimp, Al, who forced the girls to enter the seedy world of prostitution. Corey and another of Melissa's suitors, Greg, rushed to Florida and phoned Bobbie. She decided to fly to Miami herself without telling Jake where she was going because she feared she might have to resort to unorthodox methods to rescue the young people.
Heck yeah.
Posing as a high-class call girl, Bobbie re-entered a world that was all too familiar to her from her own teenage years. Working for Al, Bobbie delayed her John with a slow striptease. Then, to avoid sleeping with him, she phoned the police to alert them to Al's illegal activities. But the plan backfired. The local vice squad caught Bobbie and threw her in jail. Finding out about Bobbie's ruse, Al arranged for the story of her prostitution rap to be published in the papers. A local lawyer took note of Bobbie's photo in the papers and showed up at the jail to bail her out. Bobbie gasped upon seeing her savior. Know who it was?
Tony. Scotty!
Because it was none other than Scotty Baldwin.
By the way, I just started making a list of Bobbie and Lucy guys. So that's why.
That's why she was distracted. She's got a Bobbie and Lucy guys pen and paper going. Scotty's help so relieved Bobbie that she decided to forgive him for his past transgressions. With Melissa and Lori in tow, Bobbie headed back to Port Charles, unaware of the wrath she was about to encounter. A shocked Jake learned of Bobbie's sordid exploits not from his wife, but from the front page of the Port Charles Herald. And his worst fears were realized when the courts took away Skeeter and Melissa. Of course, Jake was livid with his wife. Thank goodness for Scotty Baldwin. He offered Bobbie solace and a helpful hand when she needed it most. Nearly a decade after they first met, Scotty and Bobbie were closer than ever.
Scotty really is such a complex guy.
Right?
Because, okay, but Lucy hasn't been with Scotty yet.
No.
Okay.
No. I don't think so. I tried to stay away from the Lucy storyline, darn it.
But Lucy and Bobbie fighting over Scotty is a thing.
Right. So Bobbie, did I change years? I got so excited. I was moving forward. Yes, 1988.
Okay.
1988. Bobbie and Jake's marriage continues to unravel, and Scotty Baldwin's presence in the brownstone didn't help relations between the Meyers. Their union was dealt another blow when the adoption agency removed their name from the list of prospective parents because of Bobbie's prostitution in Florida late in 1987. The agency's decision devastated Bobbie, whose yearning for a child had developed into an obsession, and ultimately drove Jake over the edge. Pushed to the breaking point, Jake considered leaving Port Charles for a time to help Uruguayan flood victims. When Bobbie refused to go with him, he left anyway, without even saying goodbye to his wife. Jake's departure crushed Bobbie, but never fear, Scotty was there to take care of her.
Aww.
You can always rely on me, Bobbie, he purred. To a distraught Bobbie, Scotty had good intentions, but try telling that to Ruby and Terry. They refused to believe that Scotty Baldwin was anything but a two-bit shyster and con artist. Port Charles' old guards Steve, Audrey, and Jesse weren't sure what to think about young Mr. Baldwin's apparent new leaf. Scotty skillfully stepped in and offered to take over Jake's practice. Was this a new Scotty Baldwin? Apparently not. The real Scotty Baldwin was as sleazy as ever. While working as the hospital's counsel, he used his position to filter funds from the Tanya Jones Daycare Center bank accounts.
Is that why we don't have the daycare anymore?
At the Brown...
Because we talked about that when we talked about... Are you kidding me?
I just love reading this to you. Do you understand why I wouldn't share?
Yes. I appreciate this. This is probably more enjoyable for a lot of other people.
At the brownstone, Scotty intercepted a letter from Jake to Bobbie and discreetly removed the last page in which Jake offered an explanation for his actions and expressed his love to Bobbie. Scotty made sure that Bobbie never saw that part of the letter. In Jake's next letter, he asked Bobbie to come to Uruguay and join him. Again, Scotty intercepted the note and continued to feed Bobbie's resentment towards her husband. Next, he allowed her to receive one of Jake's letters, but this one had an angry, bitter tone. Finally, Jake called Bobbie and coldly told her of his intention to remain in Uruguay for 2 years. Scotty, of course, was there to comfort a devastated Bobbie. Putting the final nail in the marital coffin, he maneuvered to keep Bobbie from receiving flowers from Jake. He then sent and made sure she saw a photo of a newspaper that had Jake with his arm around a pretty volunteer. I'm divorcing Jake. Scotty managed to hold back a sly smile as Bobbie broke the news of the dissolution of her marriage. Within days, Scotty had Bobbie just where he wanted her, in his bed. When Ruby found Scotty and Bobbie together, she let it be known plainly that she did not approve. 4 months passed before Bobbie wised up to Scotty's dirty tricks. When she did,
of Ruby.
When she did, she tossed him out of the brownstone and out of her life. Look how young they are. Look at
I know, I saw it. That is so... Oh, that's the one thing that was killing me about the clips that they were showing. I mean, Jeannie Francis has always been like a porcelain doll.
Right.
I mean, she's just... But looking at all of them like so young and then...
Yep. It's so crazy. Good thing we don't age like that.
Never.
After dumping Scotty Baldwin, Bobbie sought out an interesting man that she met, of all places, a bar. The handsome gent was everything that Scotty wasn't. Sophisticated, suave, successful, and married. Trapped in
89, 88.
88?
Okay.
Because I think I'm almost to 80.
Because I don't know who this person is then. That's what I'm trying to think. I'm like, oh, I'm trying to play Guess Who.
So, trapped... because they all say they are, trapped in a loveless marriage, Gregory Howard enjoyed his stool-side chats with Bobbie, and she found him comforting and fun to be with. They always are when they're not your husband.
Yeah, I have no idea who that is either.
After weeks of chatting, Gregory finally persuaded Bobbie to go away with him for the weekend, but their plans fell through when a political party drafted Gregory to run for the state assembly. The news crushed Bobbie. I know. The news crushed Bobbie, who realized that his politics would prevent her from finding happiness with her new man. Once again, Bobbie was heartbroken and alone. And so the Tanya Jones Daycare Center was still going forward somewhat, because now we have some information here about Lucy and how she wanted to chair it. And we got Aunt Charlene, but I'm not going to get into all of that.
Okay.
This is when Colton came around. Oh, man. So hard. Alrighty. Let's see where else. Oh, and then this is just like a quick little blip, but just the fact of, we talked about Felicia's friendship and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it came to Felicia that Frisco had passed away. And so Terry and Bobbie tried to cheer up Felicia, who had received Frisco's wedding ring from the WSB. And that was sad. Sad. She was there for that. And then, oh, I was distracted by Tony. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
So then, oh man, I don't even know how to okay, so there was a trial, and it brought Jake back. So at the trial's conclusion, Jake Meyer tried to reconcile with Bobbie, who was too hurt and confused to resume their marriage. So he returned to Uruguay, leaving her with a tough choice: divorce papers or a plane ticket to join him. After agonizing over Jake's ultimatum, she chose to get on with her life alone. But she wasn't truly alone. Lucy panicked when she perceived that Bobbie was going after her estranged husband, Tony. Though both would deny it, Tony and Bobbie had grown closer over the course of the year. He even changed his will to appoint Bobbie as guardian of both BJ and her trust fund.
Aww.
Scott suggested that Lucy forget about Tony. And then Lucy's upset, says, what about me? She wants the money, blah, blah, blah. So, So Frisco's not dead, in case anyone didn't know. Frisco's not dead. And Frisco shares a warm reunion with his brother, Tony Jones, who was in the middle of a horrible year marred by messy marital troubles. Lucy was driving Tony crazy. In the center of the turmoil, Tony began to suffer terrifying dizzy spells and blurred vision. Test determined...
I know when this is. Okay.
Test determined that he needed brain surgery, which he delayed until it was too late. After a stressful argument with Lucy, Tony collapsed. Bobbie found her fallen friend and rushed him to General Hospital for emergency surgery. Since Lucy was nowhere to be found, Bobbie authorized the surgery, which outraged Lucy, who declared all-out war on Bobbie Meyer. If Tony died, Bobbie would gain control of BJ's trust fund, and Lucy wanted desperately to control the purse swings. Much to the relief of his loved ones...
Strings.
Is that what I said?
Swings.
I said swings? Okay, no more mimosas for me. Lucy wanted desperately to control the purse strings. Swings would be much funner, though. So, much to everyone's happiness, Tony made it through surgery, but the delicate operation left him blind. Over the course of the spring and summer, Bobbie grew closer than ever to the Jones family as she lovingly assisted Tony in the care of his infant daughter, BJ. Afraid to declare her love, a jealous Bobbie sat back and watched Tony date his therapist, Valerie Freeman, whom I also don't know.
Well, okay, so we talked about Tony being blind when we talked about the Aztec princess, right?
Yeah, I'm getting there.
I don't think I realized that he was married to Lucy at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Did we?
But they were estranged.
But I don't
think we knew that they were still married. We
that-
knew they were separated, so I think we just assumed it was divorce.
Why do I not? Okay, I've had some mimosas, so there's that. Also, we've learned a lot over the past few years, so there's that too. I don't remember Lucy being married to Tony.
Yeah, you knew that Lucy was married to Tony.
Did I?
At some point, because that is how she thought of BJ as her daughter. I didn't know that she nannied before she married him.
But that's the thing.
Are we crisscrossed? You didn't realize they actually got married? I didn't realize she started out as a babysitter.
I don't remember Lucy being really involved with him. If you had asked me 3 days ago, I really don't think that I'd have been like, yeah, sure, they were. Uh-huh.
Yep, they were married.
I forget this stuff sometimes. First of all, happened before I was born then, but I wasn't watching the show yet.
Well, I don't know what was wrong with you.
I know.
But anyway.
Why don't I remember every single thing that's happened in my entire life?
I have no idea. You will know this. Moving forward, you will know this.
Okay.
I promise. Although I don't know the name Valerie Freeman. Apparently she was Tony's therapist. Bobbie poured her energies into adopting the child she had always wanted, but her devotion to Tony during his illness prevented her from filling out the adoption papers on time. I didn't know that was not his fault, but because of him either. Later, an adoption was arranged, but Bobbie was devastated when the birth mother, Molly, reusing a name, backed out at the last second. Desperate, Bobbie contacted an illegal baby broker who arranged for her to obtain the child she always wanted.
Phyllis
Unbeknownst to anyone.
Sorry. Harmony Miller.
But I was
That would have been awesome if they had done that.
Madeline Reeves, she can get you a baby.
No, but that would have been awesome. More awesome if they had done that.
Yeah.
Like done like a callback to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, they should have.
Sorry.
That's okay. Unbeknownst to anyone, Bobbie's newly adopted baby belonged to Tiffany's sister and Robert's former girlfriend, Cheryl Stansberry.
Yep.
Cheryl had given
this
birth
one.
to the child, and upon emerging from the anesthesia, she was told that her baby had died. But unbeknown by anyone, Cheryl's shady doctor had handed the baby over to a baby broker, Clayton, who sold the baby to Bobbie. In New York City,
Wait.
Cheryl... Yeah, I didn't know that he was stolen.
I didn't know that.
I thought that she gave him up for adoption and then changed her mind.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm glad we're uninformed together.
Oh, that makes so much more sense why there was such the fight.
Yes. So,
I mean, I thought it was horrible to begin with, that like she changed her mind and they had to go to court and blah, 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 but that's even
right, but
worse.
if
That's
she didn't
horrible.
know, then she wasn't changing her mind. It was, I want my baby back. Go ahead. Go ahead before I take a sip of my drink.
Why would you set me up? I'm not going to do it.
Set my drink down because I just know that as soon as I go to take a sip, she's going to do it.
I'm not doing it.
Are you sure? Because if I start
I'm
reading
thinking in my head and I'm looking at my NSYNC Fisher Price dolls because they did a commercial.
Oh my god. Okay. All right. Okay, moving on.
Barbecue sauce.
Oh my god.
Why'd you do that? Okay.
It just came out, but then I knew where you were going. So in New York, Cheryl grieved the loss, then headed to Port Charles, where an unsuspected Bobbie had joyfully named the miracle baby boy Lucas after her own brother Luke. Meanwhile, another miracle was about to occur on the Port Charles docks. While walking on the waterfront, Tony Jones regained his eyesight just in time to push Bobbie and BJ out of the way of an oncoming forklift.
Wow.
Only Frisco, and she knew that he could see again because Tony wanted to keep the news secret so he could help Frisco in his kamikaze pursuit of Domino. I don't know who Domino is, but I do remember that there was like shady stuff going on back then. Remember?
No.
No, you don't remember?
I don't remember.
Oh, okay. And then, back in Port Charles, Bobbie's friends shared her joy as baby Lucas was christened at the Brownstone. How do you get christened at the Brownstone? The party was at the Brownstone. You don't get christened at the Brownstone. But anyway.
Maybe they were concerned with all the stuff going on around them, so they did it at, I don't know.
Sure. A teary Cheryl Stansberry sadly looked on, unaware that Bobbie's precious new baby was actually hers.
Oh my gosh.
After a whirlwind courtship. Okay, wait. It's going to go right into the courtship, or right into the other good stuff. But here we saw this, but I just have to read it because this is the marriage proposal I wanted.
Okay.
In 1989, Tony Jones stunned Bobbie Meyer with a proposal. Bobbie said, "Tony, what is this? What's it for?" And Tony said, "What it is a ring. And what it's for, it's to become engaged. That's what it is, and it has a special wish from me that you accept it." And Bobbie said, "Oh, Tony, you're my best friend." And Tony said, "Friends can become lovers. It's happened. I love you. And it is a love different from any love I've ever had, and good and strong and beyond friendship. Will you marry me?" And Bobbie said, "I'd love to marry you." And he had the jar with the cotton balls in it and the ring. And that was the proposal I wanted. It was so cute. It was so unexpected.
Love Tony. And that's Tony. That's if you guys never had the opportunity to really watch the show while Tony was on, that's the kind of guy Tony was.
Yep.
That was...
It was... It gives me goosebumps reading it because I loved it. So then...
I need to find that.
Back in Port Charles... Oh, I already read all that. So they had the thingy for Lucas, and then after a whirlwind courtship, Tony surprised Bobbie with a very special wedding in Puerto Rico. Terry, Frisco, BJ, and Lucas looked on as Bobbie Spencer Brock Myers added Jones, which I thought was really funny because I'm like, we always make fun of Laura for all her names.
Right.
But Bobbie Spencer Brock Myers added Jones to her long list of names. And then it goes on. There was another surprise in store for the visitors from Port Charles. Felicia was staying in the same Puerto Rican hotel, and it goes all into all of that. So then Lucy raged when she heard about Bobbie and Tony's wedding. Soon the former Mrs. Jones' attention was diverted when she began receiving expensive gifts from an anonymous admirer. Having lost Tony, Lucy moved in with Scotty Baldwin, and that will be a whole nother story because I'm not going to continue deep diving into them, but that's where Lucy was at.
Okay.
She's very mad. So now we're into the 90s. You get to take over. I got to cover all of her men and her calling people a whore and all the reasons why she shouldn't have liked Scotty, but she forgave him and he helped her out in the end, and all the reasons that her and Lucy hated each other because they fought over Scott and Tony.
And Jake.
Yes.
Wow.
So thank you for letting me have story time because this was so good. It was just so good.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
There was...
Sorry I didn't let Shannon talk today.
No, it's totally fine. I like being surprised and finding stuff out.
I just needed you to
Yeah.
I couldn't have you read it and be like, wait, what did I just read? I knew it's
Right.
your face.
Well, and I didn't read the scrapbook. Right. Look, and I have it. I have it sitting right here.
I know.
Because I was like, oh, I wonder what's in there. Because I saw you walk in with it. I was like, okay, I'll grab it.
Oh, yeah, I didn't check the travel guide. I don't know that there'd be anything
I don't think
in there
there was
about
either.
Bobbie.
Yeah. I just grabbed it because it was on the...
Yeah, you keep them together,
Yeah.
you know.
So, so next week we will continue Bobbie. The goal is the 90s, but she did a lot in the 90s. So
Yeah.
we're going to, there's a lot of heavy stuff.
You might have to split that up.
That might have to be,
So she's going to cry about all the BJ stuff.
Yeah.
But then you get the interests that are fun.
But then I have to deal with the Cassadine stuff where, he kind of really messed that up on her. Yeah.
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 But now you know where she learned all her life lessons.
Yes.
In the 70s and 80s.
I got to deal with the Carly stuff, though.
Yeah.
Oh,
I bet she's going to use that horror word again.
I'm going to guess that might come up. So go on YouTube and watch. If you want to cry, watch the BJ storyline. If you want to
feel mushy, watch The Engagement. Have you never watched The
I don't
Engagement?
think I ever have. Hold on.
Oh my God,
Right.
you have to look it up right now.
Looking
You
it up
have
right
to
now.
hear his voice.
Well, that's
It's
what I was
so
saying. Like, I could
sweet.
hear it, and I was like, oh, yeah, that's Tony. Okay. Tony Jones propose
Bobbie.
There's
No, it's
him
not-
dying.
No dying.
Spoiler alert if you haven't,
If you
don't
didn't
know this by
You
now.
didn't know that Tony died by now.
Why is it not on here?
It has to be on there.
Tony Jones proposes to Bobbie.
Don't make me dig out my VHS tape of ABC's Best Weddings, ABC General Hospital Best Weddings, because I will.
There's the wedding.
Ooh,
There's the wedding.
I just ripped my mic off.
There's the
Sorry,
wedding.
guys. No.
But there's no proposal.
I have to find it.
There's they make up,
No.
but no. I'm far down. Oh, there's Tony listening to BJ's heart. Ha, you're going to have to, no, we're not on Tony. Never mind. I was going to be like, you have to deal with his death. No. That's what I'm saying. Like, so many of these
Wait.
that you would think. Hold on. Okay.
Yeah.
It may look like an old jar full of cotton balls, but it's not.
Is it?
No, it's a magical jar. And inside it there's a special wish. And if you're pure of heart, turn it upside down and that special wish will fall right into the palm of your hand. Don't rattle it, bend it.
Tony, what is this? What is this for?
What it is a ring. And what it's for is to become engaged. That's what it is. It's a special wish from me to accept it.
Oh, Tony, you're my best friend.
Friends can become lovers. It's happened. I love you. And it is a love different than any love I've ever had. And good, and strong, and beyond friendship. Will you marry me?
I'd love to marry you.
Okay, that was awesome. That was so sweet.
What?
And it was the day after my 7th birthday.
It doesn't hurt that rock was huge, especially for in the 80s either. That was the proposal I wanted.
That was really sweet.
It makes you feel all gushy inside.
It does. Did I ever tell you about mine? The movie Thing Called Love, where River Phoenix is in a gas station and he has a bunch of quarters because he is just trying to get a ring out of the quarter machine. And that's what he proposes with because he couldn't wait another minute to not ask Miranda Presley, no relation, to marry him. That's what I always wanted.
That's very sweet.
Like straight out of the gumball machine, though.
Yeah.
Like I would have taken the quarter.
Yeah.
You spend $5 on it, sure. But yeah, he was standing there the whole time. They were on a road trip to Graceland, and his name was James. It wasn't, but River Phoenix. It was actually his last movie. Very sad. But they were on a road trip, and they stopped at the convenience store for snacks. And as she was buying like the chips and everything, he was standing over by the gumball machine, just.
Aww.
Yep. And I'm like, oh, that'd be really sweet to just, be proposed to because that was
You just couldn't wait.
They couldn't wait. That's kind of what Tony just did to Bobbie was they weren't even really together.
They weren't.
They were just best friends.
Yep.
And that's, aww.
So cute.
Very cute. Very, very cute.
All right. I got to end on that.
Yes. So join us next week as we talk. Okay, so next Thursday, we're going to talk about Bobbie in the 90s. Mm-hmm. And on Monday, we're going to discuss this week's shows, which, who knows? I feel like they're done with the Bobbie Memorial. I'm sure that she's still going to pop up from time to time.
Mention her here and there, but I think we've moved on.
Yeah, they did such a good job.
They did. It was a nice closing.
It was. Yeah.
So have a good weekend.
And we'll meet you at the pier.
Bye.
Bye.
If you enjoyed today's show, we invite you to go to pier54podcast.com to subscribe on your favorite platform. Don't forget to leave us a review.
And you can also follow us on many social media channels. Just search for Pier 54 Podcast. Also, we are not perfect, so if there is something that we missed or messed up, just let us know by emailing us at pier54podcast@gmail.com.